I've never done it, I'll tell you, and they always ask for it, and it's okay. It's not a crime. Okay. Could be. Okay. I'm running through this, which is a good thing. We'll have more free time. I'll tell you. I ordered the vans for 9 p.m. and told them to probably pick us up at 1:30 a.m. But we can go because tonight is the night we're going to Patang, right? So Patang Beach. No, just that strip. Just that strip is cool. Each one to his own. Guys, remember, I'm not paying for clubs or alcohol. I'm just paying for transportation. You guys do whatever you want to do there. But the bus buck is probably going to be 1:30. We'll decide later. And then if you don't get on that bus, then you need to find your own way back. But I'm looking here, and it looks to me like we can probably be done. Because dinner is at 6, it's 4:20. Let's, yeah, you know what? I'll just go through this. As soon as I'm done this slide, we are practically done, because tomorrow is all about recruiting and how to recruit and where to recruit and how to build. Questions, yeah. Okay. Real estate. Some of you guys already heard about these topics before, okay, but I'm going to remind you about it, or some of you guys will hear it for the first time. Ask questions if you have. When you go into real estate, you got to pick your strategy, okay? So, buy and hold or buy and flip. Buy and hold means that I'm buying a property with the purpose of holding on to it and making it a long-term investment. Buy and flip meaning that I have a definite timeline where I bought it, I'm renovating or I'm not renovating, and within a certain time frame, I want to flip it. Buy and flip is way more sensitive to market fluctuations, if anyone thinks about it. Because if I bought for 300 and I told myself I have to sell it within a year because I can't afford to keep it even, and within that year the market took a dip and the price went to 250, I'm now in a bind, I'm in a bad place. Okay? Buy and flip is also where you can make quick money though, because I bought for 300, I made my moves right, I invested 10 grand in renos, and I just sold for 360. So within 3 months, I made 50 grand. It's always easier than it is when people tell you about it. I have never done buy and flip, and I have never succeeded in it the one time that I built a duplex. Because I built a duplex, about $1 million, the banks appraised it at 1.12, an appraisal did, okay? So on paper, I made $120,000 equity, which is, you can look as profit. Selling the duplex was a whole other story. The market got flooded, the economy in Alberta took a hit. If I was to sell it, I probably would have had to drop it to the 530, and then I still would have had to pay a realtor. So now I would have done all that project to break even. Same project, because I wasn't in a bind and didn't worry, I turned it to a buy and hold. What I did is I took a mortgage. My cost on that house is now $3,000 a month for loan's sake. Then I have the cost of about $1,000 for insurance and property taxes. So I'm out of pocket 4 grand. I rented the 2 units upstairs, the 2 basements. That property is bringing me $2,400 a month profit. That's buy and hold. Why buy and hold is safe? Because even if my rents drop $2,400, I'm still breaking even and not losing money, you understand? But there is 2 extra perimeters that kick into effect in buy and hold. One is appreciation. Again, you might have appreciation in buy and flip, but it's a very short appreciation, because if I bought at 300, I renovated, and now it's worth 400, that's the appreciation. If I'm buying and holding, inflation is 3% per year. It's extremely conservative to assume that a house you own in Canada, again, we're not in a country where the government is not stable and all this stuff. It's very conservative to assume 3% per year rise on your property. So right there, I'm making 3% increase. On top of that, when someone is paying me rent, even if I wasn't profiting $2,400 a month, why am I making money? Because someone is paying down my mortgage. So when people don't understand how that works, they're like, oh, you took a mortgage, you're paying interest. I don't care. The renters are paying the interest. When I just told you my cost is $4,000, that $3,000 mortgage includes the interest. That's what comes out of my bank account. So if my rent is at least my expenses, what it means is that my mortgage is getting paid down. So if I'm making $20,000, or like Graham told you, $20,000 a month mortgage payment, understand, that's why he's happy with it. Because $20,000, probably $10,000 is interest, $10,000 a month is him paying down a mortgage. So every year, he's making $120,000 without making a penny on cash flow. Everybody understand? Where you are is really going to influence what strategy you should consider. Ontario, or at least how you should come into it. If you're in Toronto, buy and hold, you're not going to see cash flow. It's very rare that you're because you buy for such an expensive price. Edmonton, Alberta, Windsor, definitely big cash flow properties. Guelph, when I ran the numbers, not so much, because it's already quite inflated price. So you have to understand and ask yourself, but what do I want? Now, this year is the first year I can stand here and say, I can tell you about the second experience. Because me and Graham owned a commercial building downtown Hamilton. It was my only investment that for 5 years, I didn't put money into it, but I never had money come out of it. We didn't cash flow a cent. Like, it was bad in my books, because I'm used to making 15% return on cash. 5 years, I'm like, okay, renter is out, commercial lease, let's put the place for sale. We sold it for $130,000 profit over what we bought. Once we divided that over 5 years, we ended up making 20% return on investment per year. So it wasn't that bad. Why is it not as good, in my opinion? I don't even know what's coming yet. Graham said, you just wait, let's leave money in it. The tax bill is going to be way hefty, because on property gains, the 130 grand, they can go after us for up to 50% of tax. So if I take that 130 and they took 50%, well, I really only made 65. Divide that between Oren and Graham, that's not much. Where buy and hold, you're just not going to have that big tax bill. And that's why I told you, if you buy one property in your personal name, make sure that property has a huge movement where you can sell it for more, or huge potential for selling for more. Because if you bought it for $200,000 and you sold it for $400,000, that's a very feasible situation in Windsor, maybe in Hamilton, Guelph if you find a very bad position, property that you work on. But you can literally keep the $200 tax-free if it's in your personal name. You can do that once. Everybody understand the strategizing part? Can the corporation do that as well? No, corporation will pay property gains from day one. That's exactly what I'm saying. So you can do it anywhere. You just need to understand your strategy and the market you're dealing with. Lower Mainland, Abbotsford, I think would be more cash flow market and buy and hold. Like, do you understand the different strategies and where, like, you need to start thinking, where would that work? If you're buying an inflated price, because, okay, let's say, you guys have a way to figure that out. If you bought a house for $500,000 and you're putting 20% down, say, okay, you can crunch in the numbers and you will see that the mortgage is going to be $2,500 or so a month, okay? Then you add your taxes and insurance and you're about $3 grand. Then you look on Kijiji and say, well, a house like that rents for $6,000. Well, you're in a phenomenal buy and hold market because you're going to have a lot of money left. But you rented your house in Abbotsford for $2,600. That house, find out what the price on that house is. If that house costs $500, that means you will break it. Brutal. You would have lost money. That means you would have had to invest money every month into that house to end up getting it one day. So it's not a cash flow property. Yeah. Just on your real estate, like urban rentals, how much taxes do you pay on those So that's why all of my rentals are through my company. As soon as all my rentals are through the company, it's just all through the same company, and I'm not over $500,000 in profit, so I'm paying 12%.
Is that just on your profit that you're paying on, or the full income coming in from the rental?
No, of course only profits, like, because everything is expenses, right? It's a company, so whatever a company spends in order to make money is an expense. So if you have $500,000 coming in every year, but then $200,000 was your cost of operation, you're only paying taxes on $300.
Have you ever gone to house auctions?
No. No. I don't know what it is, but if it sounds like car auctions, I would never. Like, when I buy a house, right, and we'll talk about it, subject to conditions, so we're jumping the gun here, but like, I want to go and have like 2 weeks, and then I'll go and find out what's the issue with the house, and I can get an appraisal, and I can double and triple verify that I'm making a right move. You had a question.
Yeah, I was wondering, you might talk about the down payment later, but for a place that you're going to put a down payment on, if you're not living in it, then you have to put a much higher down payment, yes, right? So,
Who knows you're not living in it? Do you own a house right now? So who knows you're not living in it? More than that, the only time the bank knows, let's say you bought a house right now in 5%, you can still go and buy a second house with 10% and not 20, because if you don't live in it, it's usually 20 to 35%. You can still buy a second property for 10% as long as you convince them, yeah, I'm moving from this house to this house. So I couldn't do it because I'm buying rentals for $400,000. So go convince them, yes, you're moving out of $1 million house to $400,000, we don't buy it. But if you bought a house at $350, and now you're buying another house at $350, yeah, I bought another house that I want to move to. I don't have to sell the other one. But you can do it.
yeah, we just got a house in Hamilton, and Vish is changing his address to that house, so my dad is going to save tax on it. 'Cause that's what we use.
But that's not illegal stuff, guys. That's just playing with things to save and act smart and qualify and whatnot. You had a question?
How do you do your market research, or how do you find out?
So, just like I told him, if you're into rentals and you want to find cash flow, go on Rent Faster, go on Kijiji, and go on Facebook Marketplace and learn what rents for what, right? If you want to do Airbnb, start looking at Airbnb, how much does this rent? Look on their calendar, contact the host, try and find out what is your vacancy, right? Guys, we live in an era that we have access to everything. If you just want to find some piece of information, as long as you're willing to look for it, it's there. That's how. Now, I have in Edmonton, and I assume most big cities in Canada have it, something called maps.edmonton.ca. I don't even need to step out of my house. I can just put an address, it will show me the tax assessment, and tax assessment is usually below market value. It will show me the zoning of the property. It will show me the land area. And land area for someone like myself is valuable because I can know if I can build a duplex, if I can buy it and break it down and build a duplex, or it's too small. But all that information is out there, right? When you're knocking doors, I always used to ask people, hey, if you don't mind me asking, how much does this house worth? You know, I was in Nova Scotia. I couldn't believe houses on the ocean for $150,000, right, in Cape Breton. So it just, you get a market feel, right? But you gotta ask. Be curious. It's okay. There was, yes. Okay. Research your market. I guess you just brought that up. So again, guys, research your market on realtor.ca. Okay, that's an app where you can just see costs of houses. Kijiji, Facebook, Rent Faster, you can see how much rent people pay. Okay? If you go on, and realtors, you have to remember, realtors work for you. Realtors are a commission-based job, and if you are not buying a house today, they still need to invest in you to buy your loyalty, so you will buy from them when you're ready. No shame in asking a realtor, hey, I'm looking to buy in this area. Can you send me some listings? And can you send me some sales in that area in the last 3 years? Why? Because you can see what houses sold for in the last 3 years and what they list for today. So if you're looking in an area and you're like, holy crap, 3 years ago this house was bought for $400, and today the tax assessment on it, which you can just go on maps.edmonton.ca and see, is $500. Man, in 3 years that house went up $100,000. Okay, you already know what you're entering. This is the market you're dealing with. Like I said, dig deep enough, ask questions, the information is out there. Most people just don't. Contact a realtor. I think anybody in the room knows someone that is either a realtor or someone that used a realtor, okay? Ask him, did you have a pleasant experience? And remember, realtors work for you. It's commission-based, which means they need to work and help you find what you want. Most people don't buy a house like that. Most people take a long time and they go and look at multiple homes. Me? No, I'm not at that point. I don't even need to look at a house. If I'm looking at an investment property that I just care about the land because I plan on break down the house, then I'm a very different buyer than someone that want to buy a house to rent. Now, it depends on where and when and what's the market. Let's look at Vancouver market, right? When Vancouver market was inflated and the bubble, well, it's still kind of a bubble, that they would list a property for $1 million and the same day they will have 3 offers and an Asian will put an offer for 1.1 million. You understand? You need to know the bubble. That's a bubble I would never enter. Like, if it's for myself and it's a house I'm buying, then sure. But that's a bad investor's market. Who pays over list, right? 3 offers same day. Most of my purchases, and in Alberta for say, right now is a buyer's market, houses were sitting on the market for 3 to 6 months, right? You're catching people when they're like ready to sell, they're ready to move. They're like, damn, I want out. So know everything that is involved. Know your capabilities, okay? This is very important, and that's why I was telling you earlier about notice of assessments, okay? If you need help, once again, guys, Graham connected me with my first mortgage broker. I have a great relationship with a lady at TD, and even mortgage brokers. If you need help, I'm always happy to help. But know your capabilities, pre-qualify for a mortgage. My sister, okay, and Ronnie last year went to get pre-qualified like I told them. Guess what they found because they did it? Ronnie pre-qualified for $250, and Ronnie and Liron earn about the same amount of money. Liron pre-qualified for $0. I'm like, what? How come? All the credit cards and all the bills were in Ronnie's name. Liron had no established credit in Canada. So we literally stopped everything, and we now changed the strategy. And okay, do you guys want to buy a house for $250, or do you guys want to wait a year, smarten up, go get a credit card, do things right, and next year you can have a $500,000 budget to buy? You need, because if you find out, damn, I don't have credit, then why go and waste all this time and research market today? Sure, if you just have all the time in the world and you find it fun, do it. But the moment you're going to need to actually move forward, you're not going to be able to. If you're not going to be able to and you have rich parents that are happy to co-sign for you, sure, just understand, when people tell me I'm going to have someone co-sign for me, understand that co-signing is the same as advances. Not only that, the only difference is not only that if anything goes wrong, they're on the hook and they have to pay for it, it also takes away from their credit. So if Oren has $1 million credit available, the bank reviewed Oren financials and decided Oren has $1 million that we're willing to lend him based on how much equity and assets he has and his annual income. If I went and co-signed for Ben for $500,000, effective tomorrow, Oren only has $500,000 available to lend. You understand how big that is? Because if someone is an investor, you literally took a good chunk or all of his equity to invest. Okay? Find a property. How do you actually buy a house? So once you know what you're looking at, you know the market, right? You are pre-qualifying. There's really 3 ways when you think about it. Driving around, okay, the old way. I say this is where one day, if you wanted to be a real hustler in real estate, you don't need to be a realtor. Go knock doors. If you know this is a neighborhood I want, and this is the property that I want, it doesn't matter that it's not listed. Even better, go in there, hey, sorry to bother you, I was just thinking of moving into this neighborhood. I was just coming to check in on any of the neighbors, what do they think? Chit chat, before you know, yeah, we're actually thinking of listing the place. No way, how come? Boom, you know, you can literally make them an offer, cash offer without a realtor, save on your commissions, and maybe they don't even know the evaluation of the property. Here's the, I don't know if I should say that on camera because I feel bad, but I don't feel bad. So it's a great business move on my end. The shop I just bought, guys, here's aggressive real estate for you, okay? I looked at it, I think, in July, maybe June. I was looking for shops because I always wanted a dream shop where I can store vehicles and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I saw one on Calgary Trail. Those of you guys know 60th Avenue Calgary Trail, 10 blocks south of Fluent, the most busy street in Edmonton. I see the listing. Instead of picking up the phone and calling a realtor, I'm like, let's go check it out. Went and knocked on the door, right? I see someone inside. I'm like, how you doing? Blah, blah. Is this your business? Awesome. Hey, would you happen to own the building as well? Actually, I do. Amazing. I just found qualified the homeowner and who I need to talk with. Starting to chit-chat with him, okay? I asked him, hey, this is your list price at $975. This is too much. I didn't even check if it's too much. I just said, this is too much. The market right now, nothing sells for list price. I always said I should buy at least for 20% below, blah, 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 kept going. I'm like, listen, you have equipment here, mechanic shop. I'll give you $900,000, including all of the machinery and everything. He's like, no, that's too low, blah, blah. Back and forth, we concluded at $930 on the spot, instead of realtors and all that. After that, I called my realtor. I'm like, Ashley, go see Tom or his realtor. The deal is done, $930, this is the terms, go set it up. Then he put the offer. Now, because I had that connection, and realtors don't like that, just so you understand, but I don't care what realtors like. I care about me, okay? We went and did an environmental report. Now, Tom was an innocent person. He was there for 20 years, a true innocent person, and not that he's screwed. Because I built a relationship with him, through talking and sales, I found out that he owes nothing on the shop. I found out that he bought it for $250,000, so just so you understand the paycheck that comes to him, because he has no mortgage and he bought it for $250,000. I found out that he's tired and he wants to retire. So by sales, I learned everything I need as an investor to leverage. Report comes back and the environmental says, risk of contamination. If you ever go into commercial real estate, that's a horrible line because you just paid $3,000 for phase 1 environmental, and the second that line is in it, the banks will not give you money. You are not getting a loan if it says risk of contamination. What risk of contamination means is now you need to go phase 2, and phase 2 costs you minimum of $10,000, and phase 2 might fail. So now you're looking at buying a property. I already spent $3,000. I spent more than $3,000, and I'll tell you why. And you're now going to spend another $10,000 or more, and you might not even buy the property. Graham told me that the car wash they bought was the third property they had the transactions on. Meaning they spent, Iman Shalev, over $30,000 on environmental reports that were gone, just gone, okay? Because I had that relationship with Tom and because I just knocked on the door, I went back and I'm like, Tom, I told you a price of $930, we agreed, but all of a sudden there is this. I'm like, I don't want to spend $10,000 out of pocket. Like, I'm like, listen, I understand you want to sell it. And again, it's been sitting now for a couple months, no movement, but I don't want to spend it. He's like, no, I understand, Oren. I understand. I don't blame you. I want out. It's okay. Let's move forward. I'll reimburse you the $10,000. So what we agreed is that if I buy it, the $10,000 is going to be reimbursed to me. If I don't buy it, then it's kind of on me. I really wanted that property because of location. Why is that a big deal, and why do you have to gauge the situation? The environmental was able to say that there are $100,000 remediation costs. Usually, if you have contamination in the ground, again, not quite residential, but in commercial, to get contamination work done, you're looking at demoing things, you're looking at taking out earth, it's a bad thing. You're looking at usually starting at $50,000 and can go up to $200,000. Having that relationship with Tom, I told him, Tom, that's a scary, scary thing. He's like, Oren, it's fine. If it's not you, it's the next buyer. He was almost in tears because obviously that's his retirement money. But he says, I'll pay for it if we need. I really want to get rid of the building. I understand how the banks work. I understand where things are. And he literally told me, gentleman's agreement, that yes, go for it. If something comes up, you know what, I'll pay for it because someone is going to need eventually to buy the building. If it's not you, no one is going to be buying it. The only person that can buy it is someone that comes with cash and just doesn't care, which would be reckless. Long story short, environmental comes back clean. You know, awesome, awesome day. Now, why am I telling you that this was an amazing transaction for me? Because Tom listed it for $975. I closed it for $930, including whatever was in there. Then I went and got an appraisal. Again, this is investments. Remember how I told you got to spend money to make money? In real estate, you got to spend money to not lose money, because the bank won't give you a mortgage unless you have an official appraisal. You know what that property came back on appraised? $1.16 million. Day one, before I started my renovations, I'm already $260,000 in equity. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't go to an auction and I just, you know, like, it takes, I don't know, guts, balls, like, go out there and shop around. If you look at Donald Trump, right, he's ruthless. He would go and say, this is the property I like. He will go and put low ball offers on 50 different properties, and one would be desperate enough and will take an offer that is like 30, 40% below list. You can have different strategies, right? What you have to do in life in general, especially when you have the tools that you guys already have from Fluent, is go and explore. You don't have to commit to anything. All that time. So sure, I put a deposit on the property once I purchase it, because when you buy stuff, usually you have first deposit and then second deposit and then mortgage comes in, okay? You can also do one deposit. When I put an offer to this building, it's subject to environmental, subject to financing, and my realtor actually added a bullshit clause, subject to board of directors approval. Now, the buyer just wants to sell the property. So unless he has multiple offers, he's going to say, yes, that's fine. Now, what I just did is subject to inspection. So now you have 2-3 weeks where you're actually going to need to go and get an inspector and pay to test the place, okay? Subject to financing, now you have a month or whatever you put on the contract to go and figure your financing. With this deal, because of the environmental, conditions were extended and extended. I think it took 2.5 months to close that deal because there were all these variables. What he added, the board of director approvals, is just to show you, it's literally, board of director is me, which means at any given point, I could have said, no, I changed my mind, I don't want to make that transaction, and I will still get my deposit back. When do you not get your deposit back? When you don't have conditions. You put a $10,000 deposit on a house, no conditions, oh, I'm buying it, and then stuff comes out, and well, you didn't have conditions, sir. Sorry, you lost your $10,000, whatever it is. Now, why did I start explaining you about the conditions? Different buyers, different strategies are different capabilities of coming into the deal. If I know I'm buying a place to break it down, and I want to tear it down and build a duplex, do I care if there is mold in the walls? No. Do I care do I need an inspection? So versus Forrest that wants to live in that place, I don't need an inspection, so I have one less condition on the offer, you understand? Now, imagine if you come into an offer and you don't even have a financing condition. You know for a fact that you have $500,000 cash. Forrest put a condition for financing. I said, no conditions. I'm putting an offer for $30,000 below Forrest's offer, but my offer ends today. You can literally sell the house today. You don't need inspection, you don't need financing. If you take my offer, we have a deal. If Finney wants to get rid of the house, he might just take that offer, you understand? You need to know what's in your advantage, and you need to think like a salesman when you're dealing with real estate. If a house has been on the market for 6 months, go around it, right? Is anyone even living in the house? Man, that house is vacant. Man, they're probably terrified of floods, of damages, of what can go wrong. How much money are they paying every month for no one to live here, which means they're already carrying another mortgage? Okay, I'm going to be way more aggressive on that offer. You understand what I'm saying? When you're going into real estate, try and do the extra work. Know that most people out there won't. They'll just get a realtor, take whatever he tells them, you will tell them it's a good deal, and that's it. Don't. You have, like I told you, Edmonton Maps or wherever you live, you have a lot of online resources. You know, here's a creative story I can tell you. My neighbor of the shop, He rented the place next to me for 20 years. Catch this. The owner, after 20 years, listed it for sale. I don't feel too bad about it because it was still, I think it's probably quite a bit smaller than mine. But anyways, he told him, when you have offers, before you sell it, let me know what the offer is, because if it's a certain amount, I might just buy it. And he was a tenant of his for 20 years. This guy got shit offers, and that tenant ended up buying the place for $650,000. Imagine, Calgary Trail property, most central street in Edmonton, commercial space, he got a steal. Because he just told him, hey, before you sell it, we have a relationship, would you be good to me? Do you like me at all? Okay, would you mind letting me know what the offers are, because maybe I'll just buy at that price? So don't be shy to go and build these relationships, right? So how to find a property? My favorite, and I'm saying, when people tell me, what about the market? I'm like, who cares about the market? I'm gonna knock doors. I'm gonna go knock 1,000 homeowners in the next 2 months, and I'm gonna find the 3 houses I wanna buy to tear down. Literally, we have that. Most people would never do that, okay? Second way is go on realtor.ca, Kijiji, right? Online websites, and just look for listings. Third way is get a realtor. Find your property, right? So knocking door, driving around, seeing signs, Kijiji, online services, realtor, all that, or a realtor. I like, obviously, the I found, because if I find, well, sometimes you can just cut the realtor all out. Realtors make a lot of money. They get paid both sides, okay? They get 7% on the first 100,000, and then they get 3% on every other 100,000. So if you bought a house for $400,000, that's 7 plus 9. That's $16,000, $8,000 per side of the realtors. Now, you can go, a lot of realtors, they think it's the holy grail. They will not move. But you can be looking to buy a house, and the house is listed at $375,000. You're offering $350,000. The customer is willing to go to $360,000, okay? You can be aggressive. Again, you don't want to, some people say it's not classy. I'm like, who said I need to be classy? You can go and tell the realtors, go talk to the other realtor, and you guys trim your commission, $10,000. You guys will still make $4,000 each, and we can close this tomorrow. You understand? They have that option, just like you can lose money when you sell alarms. Does that make sense? Know your negotiations. Find a lawyer and a mortgage broker. Most likely, when you pre-qualify, you found a mortgage broker. Now it's just finalizing. But why a lawyer? You need a lawyer to do all the documents. Especially if you don't have a realtor, by the way. You need a lawyer to do all the documents so you're not screwed. What happened with my building right now? We took possession October 1st, I believe. The previous tenant or the last owner didn't move anything. Imagine moving into a house, but the house is just a mess. And that's not how you buy it, right? So then come a very scary letter from the lawyer. And now instead of getting the money released, you're not getting any money released, right? And then he comes to me because we had that relationship. He's like, Oren, I need the money. Why is it not? I'm like, Tom, you didn't fulfill your side. But I'll release the money for you. I'm in a place of strength. But we're going to hold $10,000. $10,000 is probably going to be enough for the mess you're living in case you don't fix it. But you understand what I'm saying? That's when you need to have a lawyer. Hopefully you never use it. But on the same token, right? It's like, hey, I could have literally charged him interest or rent for not giving me my place on the first of the month when possession day was. If I wasn't ready, that was a scare on my end. If my financing, it was so last second because it dragged on for so long. If they couldn't have funded the deal and we were supposed to close on October 1st and we couldn't have paid him, he could have came after me and saying, every day I want interest on the money I should have had today, right? That's why you want lawyers. Any questions at all? Does that kind of make sense? Guys, real estate is awesome. Real estate is, in my opinion, Graham got me into it. I tried stocks. It's not as volatile as stocks. End of the day, you are in way more control. And people say, well, you can always sell stocks. people are going to need a roof over their head. Like, if you look at the real estate market, and I'm not saying it always went up, because the stock market always went up too if you look over the history. I'm just saying, real estate, I don't know, even through the recession in 2008, even through the recession now that Alberta is going through, prices haven't plummeted 40% or 50%. Like, it doesn't happen. And if it did happen, there's going to be a lot more problems than you most of the time. So with real estate, it's like, especially when you're buying and hold, as long as you are conservative, and we talked about it, as long as you have some emergency rainy day savings, you can carry a property, literally. Especially if you have a property with 2 suites up and down, right? Even if the downstairs is vacant because you can't get a renter, the upstairs is still bringing you rent, usually covering your expenses. Even if the downstairs is rented and the upstairs isn't, you're losing money, but you're not losing the full amount because you split your liabilities. Now, you can do real estate on the side. The nice thing about Fluent is that you can save money, you can work really hard, and then you have 6 months where you can do real estate hands-on. That's what I've done. That's how I learned to do renovations. That's how I learned to project manage. That's how I learned to literally become a very good project manager, that my shop, Renos, probably would have been $300,000 plus if I would have contracted it, and we're doing it for like 150. So that's the cool thing about Fluent, why real estate is so good. You can go do stocks in the off season too, but I don't know much about stocks to advise you. Here, you can literally buy a house and renovate it for rental or for flip, and you can be there any day, every day. You have the time off. You can, recruit, go through your house, deal with contractors. Like, this job is a really good job for real estate investments. So that's why I always talk about it. I love it. I think real estate is a great area in general to build passive income. Especially if you have a company, you can put the money into the company. And remember, the company will pay low taxes. As long as you don't pull huge amounts of dividends or salary out of the company, then the tax stays low. It's when you take all that money out of the company. But then you got to ask yourself, how much do I need to live? If you had a company that has $500,000 a year, how much money do you need to live? Like, you need a mortgage for your personal house. You need a car payment. Like, even when you have family, your personal expenses, like $100,000 a year is a pretty nice spending, I think, for a family. So when you think about it, well, that means I can keep a lot more in the company. I can put my real estate in the company and just pay myself the $8,000 a month to have my $100,000 a year. That's how you can smartly build and grow. Any questions at all? Awesome. 5 p.m., just when I wanted to finish. Thanks for listening. You guys have been good today. I think dinner is at 6. And then, do you guys want to go to Patang at 8? You want to go earlier, or you want to go at 9 and go straight into like the busy time? Like, what's your plan?